being destroyed? How could they have been turned into rock? I've considered that. I've looked at the mountains and the rates of erosion, and considered all these things that influence the earth, and actually sat down and did calculations and said, okay, if this mountain's eroding at this rate, how long would it take it to go into the sea? And in most cases, if they were 4 million years old, the highest mountains would be gone. Also, these things that petrify, they'd have to petrify quickly. They couldn't petrify over a period of thousands or billions of years. Otherwise, they would disappear. My grandfather showed me petrified fetuses, petrified animals, petrified flesh. Anyway, it made me think, and I've gone through, and I've in this book, and it shows studies of various features of the earth and how they relate to actually a short period of time of creation rather than a long period of time of evolution.
It's interesting that people tend not to question, and especially not to question what's taught in school.
Well, I think we go to school, we learn, we say, okay, that must be right, we turn around and teach it again. When I was growing a youth, I always liked to check it out and figure out, okay, is this really right, or is it not right? And I questioned the teachers. I think I annoyed my teachers because I always had these questions for them, and some of them just kind of shut me down. They didn't want to deal with it. That's the way we've been taught. That's the way it is. I look at the question. I go, okay, why? Why is it that way? How did something be created from nothing? And that's been my biggest question. How could a big bang out in the middle of nothingness create things, create planets and suns? And anyway, the book is just an expansion of my curiosity about something had to be created by something. There has to be somebody to organize it.
Well, I think it will tickle people's minds because there's so many times, you talk about teachers, and I've known many in my lifetime that started way back when, came up with a lesson plan and just taught the thing for 35 years until they retired. And as you say, no questions asked, and the kids that ask questions are the difficult ones, and nobody looks left or right.
Well, that's the whole purpose of my book. I'm not saying I'm absolutely correct. I'm saying, hey, if I just get one person to look at this and question, I've accomplished something.
Exactly. You're right, Marvin. You don't have to be correct. But what you are doing is causing others to perhaps say, oh, maybe I should question as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, you talked about global warming as well. What are your thoughts there?
My thoughts are that nature creates more of the problems on Earth than man, as far as they talk about CO2, which I keep reading is our most dangerous pollutant. And our volcanoes are the ones that create CO2, more so than any person or any animal. I don't think man has any control over volcanoes. And the last I read, when we breathe, we create carbon dioxide. And in turn, that carbon dioxide is taken in by plants. And then the more carbon dioxide, the more plants. So we may be defeating our own purposes by reducing those CO2 emissions. Because plants in turn break out the CO2 and return oxygen to us.
Well, nature is a very delicate balance. And I think anytime you have man coming in to tinker, you're going to upset that balance. And who knows what the final result will be.
True. Now, when I drive through the desert and I go by a green field, the temperature drops by the green field. I've noticed that my whole life. And the climate is better around where there's water, around where man has gone in and taken the water and it's cultivated. More animals live there, more people live, and more plants survive where man has cultivated. When we go out into the uncultivated land, there's less plants, less animals, and the temperatures are higher. So my thinking, as we cultivate the land and utilize the resources, we actually maintain the temperature and create a more mild climate. Why is leaving a place unattended going to help with global warming? If by cultivating and planting and making it green makes things more normal.
But you're also bringing in synthetic chemicals to do so. It's not done in a natural way anymore.
And there is that. A lot of these chemicals that I read about as a concern are naturally found in the earth. We need to look at it maybe from a different perspective. That the earth is able to absorb and cleanse some of these things. It's just if you get too much lead in one place, you may have a problem. So I've tested soil on farms and mines, and the natural soil has lead and arsenic and all these chemicals we're concerned about.
Well, this looks like an interesting book then. Is it out already?
I've taken it back to edit. I put it out about 15 years ago, but I took it back to take another look at it and re-edit it.
Okay.
So it's going to take some more editing.
This caldera we live in, it's something we can look forward to.
It actually looks at I live in the Great Basin. And you look around the Great Basin, you have many of the same features you have when you stand in a volcanic caldera, such as Yellowstone. And that's most of what I've concentrated on in that book is the similarities between the Great Basin and, say, Crater Lake or Yellowstone. And I've taken those features and showed how there's indications that this was a supervolcano that covered most of Nevada, a good piece of Utah, Oregon, parts of California, and Idaho. And when I put it out as a sample, I had a lot of people look at it, and a lot of people go, well, you put this in the fiction category. It doesn't belong in fiction. It belongs in either science or somewhere else.
Have you made that determination yet?
Well, I haven't. I'm still thinking I'll put it in fiction because it's there to make people think. It's not there to say this is absolutely scientific proof.
A thought-provoking book.
Yeah, thought-provoking.
Absolutely. So what's next? Are you working on anything else?
Well, I'm still editing my new book, Anything Can Happen at Midnight. When I get that one out, I'm considering going back to how things were in the late 50s, early 60s for kids growing up, how much different things were before we had computers, before we had iPhones that did everything for us, and integrate the way we used to go out and take things from the junk piles and create scooters and